typically they give me what's called keystone pricing, and that is 50% of retail price.
Okay.
Now at $20, if you look at your traditional fees on an average size product, there's still plenty of margin in there if you buy that product at 50% off. So that's why we suggest looking at those products first. It's not that you can't make money with cheaper stuff. You definitely can, and we do. It's just, it's harder.
Hey, what's happening, everybody? Steve here, Rake and Profit over at rakeandprofit.com, coming back to you with another video. I'm here with my good friend, Dan Metters. What's happening, man?
Not much, brother. Happy to be here sharing this stuff with your audience, man.
Yeah, we've recorded a couple videos already, and one of the #1 questions that we've been getting in the comments and behind the scenes, Instagram, on email, is, Steve, Dan, could you please share how in the world can I find my first wholesale product? So we're actually going to be sharing with you exactly what Dan is doing. And Dan, you've sold thousands of products on Amazon. You've done over $22 million in sales wholesale. So you're going to share your exact formula, criteria, everything that you look for. So there's going to be no excuse for people to not be able to get started, right?
No, I think this is like, this is the excuse that most people use to never put their hat in the ring, right? Like this is the thing where people feel like they just can't get started. They just don't know what to buy and they're afraid to make that mistake. This is the guide to help you make that decision, help you get started so you can start realizing, raking those profits, as they say.
Exactly. So if you guys are excited to rock and roll, do us a big favor and smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, leave a comment down below. And don't forget, if you guys have seen our first couple videos, we have 2 free, 100% free, no strings attached guides. The first one is a whole entire guide about Wholesale 101, getting started. It's an instant, it'll just instantly get sent right to you. So be sure to get that. First link down below in the description. And we have a product sourcing checklist.
Yep.
So that's an entire guide that's gonna walk you through a lot of these things that we're gonna discuss now. But sometimes in videos, like I talk a million miles per hour. We both get passionate. So the guide will really break things down and slow things down a little bit for you. So get that. It's the first link down below. But with that being said, we've got these. I always have my handy dandy little, my notes, like a little broadcaster, but I love it.
It's just the best way to make sure you don't forget something that would actually help your folks out.
And that's the goal of this video. The first thing that Dan does, and we've got this list right here. You mentioned that you do a product search on Amazon. So this is your initial research. You're doing it on Amazon? Is that what you mean by it?
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, that was the disconnect for us early, right? That's where we really failed, is when we started trying to do work with distributors, wholesalers. We started going to shows where, we were just buying random stuff from random people, like, and hoping that it was good on Amazon. Yeah. And, think of it from this perspective, right? Like you go to a show like New York Toy Fair and you see, well, who do you see walking around? You see Walmart reps. Yeah. You see Target reps. You see Amazon reps. And what they're doing is they're out there looking for products, trying to determine what could be good, right? Oh. Guess what? Those people make tons of mistakes. They make tons of mistakes, and it's just so hard to predict what's going to be good. And these people have been trained for years. So to try to do that yourself, I think is a fool's errand, right? Like, the vast majority of people in your audience, like me, are people who may understand how to buy and sell things, but they're not predicting trends. They're not a marketer or something like that. So for us, that trying to bring a product to Amazon was just so hard. Like it's so hard, trying to find what works. And instead, what we started doing, and this is when we started seeing real success, that reverse sourcing wholesale model, is we find our product first on Amazon. Okay. We contact the company who makes it, the brand themselves, and ask them where we can buy it. And what that does is it just streamlines that process, right? Instead of having to be really inefficient and try to figure out what's good, I'm able to start with something good, get into that mode of buying and selling, and I don't have to pay that markup from your distributor or wholesaler.
Okay, awesome. So you're starting on Amazon. You're doing all your product research for the most part initially on Amazon.com because that's already telling you a story. Yeah,
it's all of the research. Okay. We don't start anywhere else. We really do just start with great products.
Okay. And you had mentioned, and this is tip number 2. So tip number 1, do your research on Amazon. Tip number 2, make sure that Amazon doesn't carry the product. Now, what does that mean exactly?
Right. So, we do not carry products where Amazon themselves are a seller of the product, like where they actively have the buy box and they're selling the product as a retailer. And here's the logic behind that, right? It's like it's Amazon's playground. They don't play by the same rules that we do. They dominate the buy box. They're very aggressive too. Like they'll drop prices and kind of chase you towards the bottom. But more importantly, like those things are annoying. But most importantly, it makes it really hard to make changes to a listing if Amazon carries it. Amazon retail controls that listing. And that's part of the value that I'm trying to offer to these vendors, right? Is like the ability to help them grow their brand, and I just can't fulfill it. So we actively avoid products where Amazon's a seller just because we're not able to fulfill the value that we talk to with brands.
Can I ask you an honest question?
Sure.
This is off the script right now, what we plan, but I'm just curious. Say that I owned a small to a medium-sized company selling a particular battery charger. I'm just looking around the room, right? Would it be more beneficial for me? Would I make more money selling to Amazon versus selling to someone like you? Like, what's the honest truth behind that?
No, absolutely not. Like, that's the thing is Amazon...
Because I feel like they'd be savages.
They are. I mean, they are complete savages. Like, number one, their payment terms are generally tough. Usually they utilize net 60, net 90.
What does that mean?
So that means you send them your product as a manufacturer. Like if I were a brand, I send them my product and I get paid either 60 or 90 days after that. So I have to front load all that cost to Amazon and carry that cost for 60 to 90 days.
Wow.
Additionally, if your return rates are exceptionally high at Amazon, guess what? Guess who eats that? The brand. Like Amazon returns all that product to them. So that's another huge issue is they have to deal with it.
So if there's a return, Amazon sends it back to you. Does that happen with you?
Yeah, I mean, yes.
Oh, okay.
But it's, for us, we have systems in place to be able to deal with returns, whereas brands don't necessarily do that.
Oh, okay.
So then you have like another just gigantic problem is like, to do any level of marketing, Amazon charges them, very, very well for that.
Oh, really?
Like if they're going to do any kind of sponsored ads, like Amazon has to... Amazon charges them for that.
So that's an upsell for them.
Yeah, exactly. And as a vendor, they're able to get a lot of those same things that Amazon charges them lots of money for free from us. So like one of the brands that we started working with last year ultimately was working with Amazon.
Okay.
Like they, whenever we first started carrying the product, they had one listing that Amazon had never carried, and that's the one we started with. And then they had 2 or 3 other listings that Amazon carried, right?
Yeah.
And whenever we approached that brand, we talked to them about the first product that we wanted to carry because we always start that product research on Amazon, and then as we grew with that product and developed better sales, a better page, enhanced everything about it, they were like, wow, this you guys are outpacing Amazon. And then eventually we started working directly with them, and they no longer work with Amazon
so
at
they
all.
Can drop them off once they have, or does Amazon usually want like a contract?
No, it's fairly easy to drop them off. Amazon continues to request purchases for a while, but it is easy to generally drop them off.
Yeah. I always wondered why so many people work with Amazon, because Amazon, they blow out the price. The terms are horrible, like you said. Why? Is it just because there's not a lot of people like you who understand it, which is a great opportunity?
Right. No, that's effectively it. I feel
that's interesting. I never thought of
that. Amazon doesn't add any extra value. They're just a traditional retailer that just buys and sells product. But brands don't understand. A lot of the brands don't understand that value, right? That what we are capable of doing as sellers. So just being able to communicate that with the brand can show them exactly the difference in experience they're getting with Amazon and the difference in experience they're getting with third-party sellers like us.
So you do your research on Amazon. You're making sure that Amazon doesn't carry the product because of the many reasons that we had mentioned. Thirdly, how many products are carried? Like how many sellers do you want on that listing? Do you want 1, 2, 3, 5, 0?
No, see, counterintuitive. Like most people would believe you want less competition, right? So like one seller, but that's not the case for us. Like realistically, the vast majority of products that are one seller on Amazon are either existing exclusives or they're private label products. And then what that is a private label product is a product that was literally brought to Amazon's market so that seller could be the retailer of the product. So like our interests don't really align there, right? Like I'm not, their goal was to be a retailer, and I'm just not able to help them the same way I'm able to help a traditional brand. So with that, we don't look for products with a single seller. We're looking for products with a minimum of 3 sellers, and that's just to make our targeting better. Yeah. So I don't catch so many private label brands in my net or people that would be unlikely to work with me. So yeah, it's that's a hard, fast rule just to make us more efficient. Got it. And
number 4, tip number 4 for the viewers watching how to find your first product and what you should be looking for in terms of criteria is how many times should these products be selling per month?
Right. And this is a huge one that most people don't think about.
And how to find out. Yeah.
For sure. So for us, like that's probably the driver of our business, right? Is we're very, very cash flow oriented. And it's because when we started our business, we didn't have a ton of capital. Like I didn't have just piles of money sitting in the bank that I could invest in a product, wait on it to start selling, develop an audience for it, etc. Like when I bought a product, I needed to start selling immediately so I could get that cash back and then reinvest, right? So we focus on products that already have built-in liquidity because that allows us to keep flexible cash flow in our business. So yeah, that's it. We look for products that sell about at least 40 times per month. And that's just to make sure that we're not putting our money into something that's going to sit there.
Got it.
Like, and if you're looking at a product, let's say I'm looking at a product that sells 40 times a month and I see a lot of opportunities there, bad titles, bad pictures, bad listing in general, right? That means that product may very well sell 100 times a month or more after I start making those improvements. But I need 40 times a month from the start just to make sure that I'm able to get my money in and out effectively. That's for us, like liquidity has just been that part of the business. Like it is the actual driver. I feel like the people who focus on specifically margin first are missing out because they end up with too much product sitting in their account that they're not realizing profits on.
Interesting. And when people are looking at and analyzing these products and trying to find their first wholesale product, tip number 5 is we're gonna discuss a little bit about how much the item should be selling for. So what is that for you? Is it a $10 minimum, a $15 minimum, a $50 minimum? Because there's a lot of fees and costs that go into it. So I'm sure you've got some type of minimum.
No, sure, for sure. And now, with something like this, this is more of a guideline, right? Like whenever you're selling a product on Amazon, like Steve mentioned, there's tons of fees involved, right? Now, the more experienced you get, the better you get at learning how to manipulate those fees around, right? Like getting into the small and light program, you can start carrying those cheaper products. But whenever you're first getting started, like we suggest starting with products that cost at least $20 or more. Okay. And that's just a good baseline where the fees at your standard wholesale rates, like they call it keystone pricing, right? Like if I reach out to a vendor and I ask for a price list and they approve me, typically they give me what's called keystone pricing. And that is 50% of retail price. Okay. Now at $20, if you look at your traditional fees on an average size product, there's still plenty of margin in there if you buy that product at 50% off. So that's why we suggest looking at those products first. It's not that you can't make money with cheaper stuff. You definitely can, and we do. It's just it's harder. Like you have to understand more about selling on Amazon, and over time those things come. But start with those $20 up products.
Awesome, got it. Great tips. Tip number 6 is make sure that you're not dealing with like the huge, ginormous companies. Sure. We've talked about this multiple times already. You guys are working with small to mid-sized companies.
No, I mean, for us, these last 2 tips, they're going to be value-based. And that's because, whenever we started our business, like I said, we didn't have all that cash in our business. And if you're trying to be a good distributor or work with wholesalers, what do they care about? They don't care about necessarily the individual lines they carry. They care about selling more product. Well, me and Eric, when me and Eric got started, we didn't have a giant budget that we could just make massive orders to get our discounts. So I couldn't compete at that level. Yeah. So instead, I had to work with brands directly. And why does working with brands work? And it's because they care about their product more than they care about dollars. Oh. That's their baby. That's their livelihood, and they understand it. So if I can talk to them about making improvements, they understand that even if they're willing to give me lesser pricing, give me a better discount so I can do all this stuff, that they make it up on the back end, right? It's not just about selling units. So what we realized early on is, whenever we're doing this, is brands respond to value, but only certain brands. Like initially we were reaching out to everybody. And I think this is the mistake that most people that come from that thrifting or retail arbitrage background do, right? Is what was the first products I reached out to? It's products I see every day, like Nike. And whenever I started thinking about it, it's like, why are they not responding? Or why am I not getting the discounts that I should? And it's because, whenever I'm looking at Nike, say they make I don't know how much their sales are. Let's say it's $250 million a year. I'm sure it's way higher than that. But just as an example, let's say I'm talking to them about an individual listing on Amazon. And I'm like, if I optimize this, we can make an extra $250,000. What do they care? Yeah. $250,000
it's not going to make a huge impact.
Million. Yeah. Exactly. And it's like, you have to work with people where your interests are aligned and scale matters. So what we found is by targeting these smaller businesses, that where we make that improvement, that it makes them an extra $50,000 or $100,000 in sales in a given year, that matters massively to a small company.
Yeah.
So dialing into somebody that you can actually have impact with is a huge key in wholesale, I feel like.
Wow, awesome. And the last tip, so hopefully you guys are going through this process, taking notes, taking action. The last tip is make sure, and we've talked about it, make sure that you're looking for listings that need work, that you can add value to, that you can make a difference, that you can add an impact to, because that's really in turn going to help you to build that relationship and secure that deal.
Right. No, I mean, I think a lot of people, particularly early on in the process, they feel like they need every single person that would possibly be willing to do business with it.
Yeah.
And over the course of time, what you really learn is you just need the right partners, right? Like I just need the right people to work with me. And what is that? That's people who actively care about the impact that I'm making, right? And it's, how can I do that? How can I add that value? And I look at their listing and I see that I can immediately help them. I see something that I can tap into. And then at that point, I'm not just reaching out to them in a transactional manner. I'm not just saying, hey, let me buy and sell your product. Instead, I'm saying, hey, I would love to help you here by buying and selling your product. So it gives it that different dynamic, and it helps you start creating relationships that give your business real consistency. And most importantly, predictability. We had talked about that in one of the earlier videos, is being able to predict your income is such a huge thing. And how do you do that? And it's by building great relationships with vendors.
Awesome, man. So the last thing I would like to do in this video is maybe you could give some advice to the people who have watched this video. We've gone through all the 7 tips. Hopefully you guys have downloaded the free Wholesale 101 guide and the product sourcing checklist. First link down below. But what advice would you give to the people, Dan, who are watching and they're like, wow, that's great. He's up to 22 million in sales. I know he comes from the eBay, Amazon world. He understands us, but you don't understand what it's like. I'm working a job. I'm hustling in my eBay business. I'm doing my retail arbitrage, and I'm busy, and it's tough to transition. And it all kind of seems overwhelming. What advice would you give to them right now watching?
No, I mean, I love that. I love that. Your question was so great here, because I think a lot of people suffer from this, right? And it's, the first thing I would say is just slow down. Like, how do you eat an elephant? One bite,
at a time, baby.
One bite at a time. And that's the thing about wholesale, is everything you do can be done on your own time. Like all my product research is on Amazon. So guess what? I can do that at 3 in the morning. I can do it at 6 in the morning when I wake up. I can do it, at 4 in the evening. So like if you're looking to transition, you don't have to transition all at one time. Like you can do it step by step, because wholesale is so scalable, right? Like I can do it with one account making, $10,000 in sales a month, $5,000 in sales a month, and just generating profit there. Like I don't have to have a business that's generating millions of dollars in sales from the start. Like those are built, not just, they're grown. So from that perspective, that's what I would say is I would say, just get out there, look, with these tips, and start looking at listings on Amazon and looking at specifically, where can I make an impact?
Got it.
When you look at that listing, you see a title and it's short, it doesn't describe the product at all. That's a place where you can make an impact. You see bad pictures or one picture, that's a place you can make an impact. You see bullets that aren't being utilized, that's a place. Like it's just about recognizing those opportunities. And then once you start seeing them, right, that's when you can start taking advantage of it. So that's the advice I would give, is just start checking listings out and seeing where you could add value specifically.
Hey, Dan, appreciate you being on. If you guys haven't seen any of our previous videos that we've recorded over the last week or so, I'll put links down below for that. The Wholesale 101 guide, the product sourcing checklist, that's free. That's in the description as well. And our next video we're going to be recording is how to make passive income with a wholesale business. So that should be coming up in a couple of days. So if you're not subscribed, subscribe, stay tuned, and we'll see you in the next one.
Yeah.
Peace.